The community has dwindled to the size it is presently. Yeah, the founders.
We haven't any idea. Be over 1,000.
Yeah. Well, we're standing on graves. These are all graves. It's just full. And the majority of the graves are unmarked. And we've tried to find out, you know, who's who in here, so to speak, but it's a very difficult process.
And the records for blacks, it doesn't matter where you go, in this country at least, the records are kept so sporadically, and many people are referred to by just a first name or sometimes even a description.
The Lewis family, I've not had the opportunity to explore that extensively, but in 1749 there was a Captain Thomas Lewis who did settle in Halifax, and he had 8 slaves. So it is only reasonable to assume that I descended from one of those slaves.
Doreen Lewis is the principal of the Institute of Technology at the Community College of Nova Scotia. One of her ancestors is Rose Fortune, a remarkable woman who declared herself a police officer and opened her own transport company.
Because when a slave went from one household to another, their name would be changed. I mean, if there was a Lizzie already there, then they became an Abigail.
Elm Hills townspeople faced adversity for many years and met the challenge by forging close ties among their families, and with the determination of Cheryl Haynes McLaughlin, who devoted herself to preserving her community and its history.
We still have a fire. We have the remnants of a fire. Someone burnt down our building. The only reason we can think it burnt down is because of the color of our skin. There's no other reason. Why would you burn that building down?
This is 225 years of history, and this is 20 years of accumulation of Black Loyalist history.
You have 40, 50 museums within Shelburne County. The only office building that belongs to a group of people who are black is the one that was burned. So I still think parents have to do their job, and there's still some battles to fight.
In listening to Elizabeth Cromwell, founder of the Black Loyalist Society, I came to understand why there is so much bitterness between whites and blacks in Nova Scotia today. Racist thinking is passed on from one generation to the next, and so is the apprehension and suspicion that develop as survival mechanisms, perpetuating bitterness and misunderstanding.
I can remember my father saying to me one time, I was angry. I came home and my brother and we were mad. Somebody had called us a name and we were tired of it. And my father sat down and he said to me, you've responded exactly how they want you to. You're upset, you're angry, you're probably not going to study well tonight, you know, all those things, negative things. But he says, do you think you're what they called you? And I said, well, no. Then he said, why do you respond to it? I said, don't ever respond to it. And that was hard to do, but I went through high school trying not to respond to it. When the name was called, I never turned my head. They did not get a rise out of me. And you know, all that, and I think it's important that people begin to understand that and express that, because we kept that anger inside of us sometimes. You know, that was difficult to do. We grew up with that.
This world is getting crazy. People are getting lazy. Take care of your babies. Good. We're gonna work it out, yeah. We're tired of pollution. It's time for
I sometimes will just be having discussions, and these youth will be like telling me things, and I'm just like, you guys are the crystal kids, you know what I'm saying? This is the next generation that's gonna change the world. And so I'm indigo child that's coming in, warrior, helping them to do that, you know what I mean? And they're gonna take the reins, and that's just my job. I'm just doing my job. It's my life purpose.
Yeah, we're tired of pollution. It's time for revolution. We're finding a solution. Love is what it's all about.
I have made, myself and my husband, we have made a conscious decision that it is going to be us that speaks into our children's lives. Lil' Kim don't get to speak into my child's life. You know, 50 Cent or, you know, DMX or whoever else does not get to speak into my child's life and tell them who they are and what they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it.
Some of these rappers who are signed to labels, and these record labels have basically taken people from the street who all they know about is hustling. Like, that's all they know. That's because they do that to survive, right? And the reason why they do that to survive is because they don't know any other way, because they're kept in that cage, right? They're not given access to libraries. They're given access to liquor stores, you know what I'm saying? And access to media influences that encourage them to continue on that lifestyle.
Because when they get out there in the world, it's real, and they will encounter those who will seek to tear them down a notch. So you have to launch them from on high. They may get leveled a bit, but they will always be cruising at a higher altitude. Black, you are proud. You can do anything. You can accomplish anything. You will be somebody. You're somebody already.
But you look at it and say, it was that first thing in the morning, opening that door, that you knew you had to fight your way to get anywhere, and that stays with you. And you took it for granted that you had to fight your way from the minute you opened your apartment door. And that's why you succeed, I think, because you've learned to fight your way through the worst you could possibly go through.
If anything good has come out of this fire, our support base has broadened considerably. Now we know who our supporters are. Now we know who is behind what we're doing here.
I want them to be able to stand up and write a rap about how powerful they are, you know, and how strong they are. And I'm seeing that happen here in my class. Like, I'm seeing it happen with all, you know, every day, you know. So when I see that, I'm like, that's the bomb. That will give you self-confidence and self-esteem to rule the world. You see, these drums are battle drums running through my veins. I'm a true African, waiting for the sun to dry up the tears on the cheeks of the one. Fear the life of the gun, and when it come, creepers at night, they gon' run. Judgment for all that crushing to beyond. The meek shall inherit the earth and come first. Global control over souls will be reversed. Till then, Nubian, please know your worth. Forget the short change, arrange your network. White, brown, black, yellow, and red, they keep us separated so they can stay ahead of the game. Pointing the blame at each other will do little to identify the common oppressor. No one is lesser. Strength found in unity. We need to come together to form the Holy Trinity.
The fact that we survived shows that we're strong people. We're proud people. And we're intelligent people.
I was elected mayor for the town of Annapolis Royal in 1984, and at that time I became the first black mayor in Nova Scotia and the first black woman mayor in North America.
There's the impression that there is no black community in Vancouver. I've heard that many, many times. People say, there are no black people in Vancouver. And I say, there are more black people in Vancouver than there are in Halifax. You know, that's a true statistic, but people have the impression that there aren't any here. So I sometimes think if there was a centralized black community, it would be easier to get recognition. It would be easier to keep some of the memory and some of the history.
Vous savez, on a parlé des Québécois pur laide. Bon, ça, c'est celui qui a lancé cette histoire-là, il a fait une blague. Ben voyons, avec tous ces mélanges qu'on a eus avec les Irlandais, les Écossais, les Anglais, les Italiens, les Allemands, les Noirs, les Amérindiens, les Québécois. Et les Québécois Verlaine, c'est un mythe.
People have said, "Have you any desire to go back to go to Africa?" And I said, "Where in Africa? I don't know what coast I'd be most what is my attachment? I don't have. I would have to search and find an attachment."
When they exhumed some of the graves on Ile St. Croix, the first settlement of the French settlement in this area, they found the remains of people of African descent. When they built Fort Louisbourg in Cape Breton, black people were there building that fort. When they built Citadel Hill in Halifax, the Maroons built that.
On n'a jamais reconnu l'apport historique, l'apport d'avoir bâti ces villes, d'avoir bâti ces quartiers de ces gens-là à la pleine contribution qui sont faits. Il y a toujours encore cette négation. Alors, c'est évident qu'il va y avoir des effritements, qu'il va y avoir des frustrations, qu'il va y avoir des choses qui vont des séquelles de tout ce marasme qui va s'étendre jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Et merci, mon Dieu, qu'on a certains représentants comme notre gouverneur général et autres personnes prestigieuses et autres qui ont fait leur marque à travers les temps, les années. Il y a eu même des joueurs de hockey célèbres dans les années 40 qui étaient excellents joueurs, qui ont joué dans les ligues seniors ou même un ou deux qui ont arrivé dans les ligues nationales de hockey. Juste pour parler de ça, on parle de Jackie Robinson aussi au baseball, qui ont fait une démarche, qui ont fait une différence pour nous. Et il faut que ça continue, il faut qu'il y en ait d'autres qui se lèvent, il faut qu'il y en ait d'autres. Et il y a tellement de richesse, il y a tellement de talent. On le sait que dans nos communautés noires, dans le moment, il y a des élites de jeunes qui sont cultivés, qui sont éduqués.
I feel very Canadian. I'm a seventh generation Canadian. I'm the seventh generation here, and it's amazing when people ask me, where am I from? Where am I from? I say, I'm from Canada. They say, well, before that. I said, well, how many generations do you want to go back? Because, it's 7 generations ago I was in the States, but I wasn't supposed to be there anyways. I was a slave there. So, it's hard. I'm very Canadian. I'm older than the flag.
You are my land, and you are free. Canada, my Canada.
After my journey across the country, I realized how much Black history was a part of the real history of Canada. In talking about achievements, for all their struggles, courage, and strengths, Black Canadians have their story like any other group. These unsung heroes deserve recognition as much as any other important people in our history books. It isn't that nothing happened, but our ignorance of what did occur that kept us from acknowledging the epic journey of Black Canadians.
You will always be my home, Canada.